Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. Last episode, we were talking about how our life purpose is to love and be loved. And there are limitless possibilities for how we can express our love and receive love in our lives. And in this scenario of limitless possibilities, we can find ourselves becoming overwhelmed and confused by what are the right possibilities for us, which are the possibilities that I should pursue, and which are ones that may not be so good for me or so fruitful for me, which may not be the best ways for me to express my love or to receive love in my life. Let me give you an example. When I was in college, I got involved in a lot of different clubs on campus, a lot of different organizations on campus. Also took a lot of different classes. I'm not just talking about the classes that were required for my degree. I actually took a lot of classes that were just electives, had nothing to do with my major or degree requirements. That's just the kind of person I am. I love to learn. There are a lot of different things that I'm interested in. So there were a lot of things that I got involved with. Or I at least began the process of getting involved with them. And then with so many of those things, I would give up on them. Now, there were some times when I gave up on these things that I got involved with, and it was a good thing that I gave up on it, because once I got into it, I realized, hey, this is just not the right thing for me. Sometimes we really need, you cannot tell until you get on a certain path and you start walking on it, and then you start to see and experience for yourself what's going on that path, what comes your way when you're on that path, and you recognize, oh, this is not the right path. I'm headed in the wrong direction or whatever. So when you realize that, hey, this is not the right thing for me, and you turn back or you turn away, that's a good thing. That's a really, really good thing. There have been times in my life where I even realized, hey, I was heading down the wrong path, doing something wrong, and I didn't give up on it because, we all have an idea, an image of ourselves, and we like to hold that consistent. It's a natural human tendency. It's a very natural part of our psychology. So, for example, if I think of myself as somebody who does not give up on things, who starts what she, or who finishes what she starts, then I will hate to give up on something. And there was a period in my life when I realized that, hey, perseverance is a really important strength and a really important value for us to cultivate, because it's necessary for success. So I was like, okay, I am going to be this person who perseveres through thick and thin, who perseveres through all kinds of difficulties. I'm not going to give up on anything that I commit to because of difficulties. And sometimes, that's a really good thing. That's a really necessary thing. Like, you need to persevere your way to success. But at other times, it's like, okay, look, this is just not the right way. So what's the point of persevering on it? It's not leading to the destination that I want to go. So what's the point of continuing to walk along that path, right? But sometimes you cannot know which way, like let's say you're at an intersection and you don't really know where you are. You know where you want to go, but you don't know whether to take the path to the right or the path to the left. Well, what are you going to do? You could stand there forever in your state of confusion, or you could be like, okay, look, I can't figure out if it's the right or the left, so I'm just going to start walking to the left. And then as you start walking to the left, you begin to experience, things, and you're like, oh, you see signs, and you see, or like, oh, okay, now I see I'm heading down the wrong path, right? So the moment you recognize, okay, this is not the right path, you need to turn back, come back to the point of intersection, and go right now, and see, okay, all right, okay, so once you're, so sometimes you just have to do that. You just have to engage in that kind of experimentation. Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about. There have actually also been all kinds of times in my life where I knew, like, I chose a path, and it was a choice that was very thoughtful, and it was a choice that I made because, I recognized it was the best way for me to move forward. But then I start moving forward on that path, and either I get impatient because it's taking so long and I'm not, getting where I need to get to or wanting to get to fast enough or soon enough, or, the hurdles and challenges that come my way, I'm like, I don't want to be bothered by them, either because of my impatience or because, in my case, some of the biggest times when I gave up on something was because I got scared. I was like, oh my God, these challenges are just too big. I don't know if I can take that. For example, one of the times when I gave up on something that I knew was actually really important for me to do, but I got scared, was when I realized, hey, I needed to reach out for help and support, which meant help and support in the context of healing from the trauma of the abuse that I had survived. And that meant, okay, I have to go tell somebody about what I've experienced and what I'm struggling with so they can help me, right? And I put that off, and I put that off, and I put that off for a long, long time because I got scared, even though, you see, I knew that was something that I needed to do. And I started taking, certain little tiny little steps towards that. But then I kept pulling back. Right? Even after I told my first person, which was, by the way, a huge breakthrough. And I felt so much better, so much happier. It took me another few years before I was able to open up to a second person and ask them for help and support when I needed more help and support again. And it was something like, especially when it came to finally telling somebody in my own family, wow, that was the scariest thing. See, because the first person I told was a psychologist and at my college. And so it was something where I felt safe. I knew it was going to be kept confidential, and it was just going to be something that would stay between me and that psychologist in that room, and it would never get out. You see, but eventually I got to a point where I realized, hey, I need to share with my family about what has happened to me and what I've experienced and what I've been struggling through, because I actually also need support and help from my family to allow me to continue to move forward and heal. And that thought of my family finding out was just so scary for me that I kept putting it off, until I finally figured out a way to not do that. And, I overcame that fear eventually. But, when I was going through that process, my gosh. So we can have these things happen in our lives where, we know we're doing something, or we get into something where we know it's the right thing for us, but we just give up on it too soon. We give up on it before our efforts have had a chance to take root, or if they have taken root for like if you take a plant analogy, imagine you plant a seed, and then before it has had enough time to grow enough, become strong enough, become mature enough to produce the fruit that you wanted, you become impatient or whatever, and you just give up on it. You stop taking care of it, you stop watering it, you stop pruning it, you stop just taking care of it, and you stop it before it's become strong enough to survive on its own. So it dies, and then all the time and effort that you put into planting it and taking care of it for even as long as you did begins to feel like wasted effort. And then you can so easily fall into this trap of blaming and judging yourself, or blaming other people, or blaming your fate and destiny that, hey, nothing works out for me. Why isn't, I've tried this and I've tried that, but nothing's working for me. I'm not seeing the results I want. Well, you know what? If you're struggling with this issue, particularly in the context of trying to figure out your specific life meaning and purpose and how you can live your life meaning and purpose, and struggling with it maybe even at the level of, okay, I've even begun to do what I knew I needed to do, or what I was supposed to do to live out my meaning and purpose, but I'm still not seeing the results. And you're starting to feel a sense of impatience, and maybe even starting to doubt yourself whether, hey, did I even make the right choice? Maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do after all. So, maybe you decided, hey, to go to medical school or engineering school, and it's a real passion that you have. This idea of medicine or being an engineer is something that you actually even really feel passionate about. But you get scared or you get impatient in the face of all the hurdles and the challenges that keep coming in the way of you being able to accomplish this goal of becoming a doctor or an engineer. And so you decide to give up on it. You're like, okay, fine, I'll just go do something else. So, and then you're feeling this, feeling the sense of, oh, there's something incomplete, there's something missing, nothing's working in my life, I'm not getting the results I want. So then what's the problem? The problem is not that you are on the wrong path or you don't know what to do. The problem is that you needed to persevere. And you gave up too soon. So if this is something you have been struggling with or are struggling with now, the first thing you need to do is figure out whether the thing that you gave up on or are feeling tempted to give up on or change directions, is that actually the right response? Is that something that you actually do need to give up? Or is this a situation where you need to persevere? Learn to make that determination, you see? And I'll tell you the easiest way that you can make that determination without unnecessary confusion and unnecessary struggle and all that is, instead of asking your mind for, is this something I need to give up on or persevere with, ask your heart that question. This is an area of expertise for your heart. Okay? Ask your heart, do I need to give up on this? Or do I need to persevere with this? Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, once you have an answer, actually follow the guidance of your heart. Actually follow on that path that your heart guides you towards. Right? So like when I was giving you the example of how my heart told me, hey Samia, you need to go share with your family what has happened with you, what you have experienced, what you have struggled with, what you are still struggling with, so that they can also help you and support you. And by the way, this ties into my being able to live my life mission and meaning and purpose, because remember, my life meaning and purpose is to share with people what I've learned from my own experiences about how to live with more inner peace and joy, how to heal from trauma, how to stop suffering. If my family doesn't know about what I have suffered, the trauma that I have been through as a survivor of child sexual abuse, how am I supposed to be able to go out and do this work out in the world? And, be worried that, hey, while I'm out there trying to do a class or a workshop where I'm talking to people about these things, I'm worrying about what if my family finds out. There's no way that I could do this work with integrity and with the openness that I need to do it if my family doesn't know, or if I was worried about my family finding out about this, right? So this is why my heart was actually saying to me, Samia, this is something that you need to do, okay? But I got scared, and because I got scared, for several years I tried to avoid doing this, and I tried to find ways around it and all that, but it didn't work. It just kept holding me back. So eventually, you know what? You're going to have to follow what your heart tells you. You will have to follow the path that your heart shows you if you want to get the best results in your life, if you want to avoid unnecessary suffering, if you want to avoid unnecessary struggles, if you want to avoid unnecessary detours and unnecessary distracting tangents in your life. If you want to be able to just figure out what your life meaning and purpose is and just live it with focus and, do it so that you're making the fastest, most progress towards it, most efficient way to move forward, the most happiness promoting way to move forward, the most peace promoting way to move forward, then you need to do what your heart tells you. Okay, so I think I've made this point and made it stressed on it enough. So I'm going to go ahead, wrap up right here for today. I want to remind you, hey, look, if you're struggling with figuring out your life meaning and purpose or sticking on that path, if you already know what it is, but you're struggling to stay on the path that your heart has guided you towards, either way, part of the solution for you is to reach out for help and support. And I am somebody that you can reach out to help and support for. Okay? So you know how to reach out to me if you need to. That is by going to my website at www.academyofthriving.com. Click on the Contact Us page and you will see all the different options. You can connect with me through Facebook, Twitter, email me, set up a phone appointment, whatever works best for you. So I encourage you to get the help and support that you need. And other than that, I just wish you lots of peace and joy until we connect next time.